Hi there, this is Johnny, Man and Machine, and this is going to be a demonstration and overview of the new platform, the new ACC platform from Autodesk, specifically looking at Autodesk Collaborate Pro. I will also divulge as well that there is also Autodesk Collaborate, and I'll explain what the difference is right at the start. So first of all, just to explain what is available and what the equivalent was, and explain kind of what they're for. So the Autodesk Collaborate and Autodesk Collaborate Pro platforms that are now available are cloud platforms, and the equivalent that was previously available, very similar to the way that they work, was BIM 360 Design. There is not a replacement. It is not a replacement. There's new functionality inside of the new ACC platform, which differs from that, but that was the equivalent essentially. And just to explain the difference between Autodesk Collaborate and Autodesk Collaborate Pro, for those of you who may be wondering why there's two now, the Autodesk Collaborate Pro comes with the ability to be able to work share inside of Revit, among some other softwares, whereas Autodesk Collaborate only allows you to use the modules on the browser. So the two different platforms are ideally suited, perhaps Autodesk Collaborate Pro for a designer, somebody who's going to be working in the native software, and then Autodesk Collaborate is going to be for somebody who needs to view and manage the data that the designers are working on, but not necessarily work in the native software and be able to actually work share on the Revit models. So I'll try and comment as to where that makes a difference in the workflow that I'm doing. Currently, the view we're looking at here is one of the models that we're going to be working with. So this is the architect's model. So like I've already said, Autodesk Collaborate and Collaborate Pro, they're really designed for Revit work sharing and being able to collaborate on projects. So just to give an overview in terms of what that Collaborate module gives you, and I'll do this on the browser here and what it does. The foundation platform is Autodesk Docs, which is available now in AEC Collection. So if you've got an AEC Collection and you've not heard of this Autodesk Docs, I implore you to go and have a look at it. It's a really great new feature to be able to use with the AEC Collection. So it's a cloud platform, just allows you to store pretty much any file type you want. You can add permissions to folders, create folder structures, share information. There's a lot you can do with it. If there are any questions or anybody wants a demo on Autodesk Docs or Autodesk Collaborate, please do give us a call at Man and Machine. So to discuss what you get with Autodesk Collaborate and Collaborate Pro, the modules you'll get will be the Design Collaboration module. So I'm going to go through this first. I'll explain how it works. Like I said, this is an overview. It's not going to go into the nuts and bolts. It's really just going to kind of give you an idea of what you can do with this particular piece of platform. So on Autodesk Collaborate, the biggest part of it is really these swim lanes. So these lanes at the top of the screen that we see here are called swim lanes, and they represent different teams on the project that I'm working on in this case. So the disciplines we're looking at here, the architectural, the plumbing, the mechanical services, and the electrical, they'll all be teams, perhaps different companies, maybe one company, depending on how the project is set up. And whenever there's been changes to the model, or maybe on the Friday every week we're sharing the model, we can use these swim lanes to actually share the information that we need to hand over to the other teams. So for example, this architectural swim lane here, this square actually means there's been a model published but not shared. And so what I can do just to demonstrate how this works is perhaps this is the Friday that the architects are sharing their model. Maybe some other information as well. It actually will allow you to share things like documents and sheets, not just models. But that Friday, perhaps what we're doing is we're sharing this package. So I can hit the share button at the end here, choose what I want to share. So I can choose the model to be able to share, choose the drawings that I might want to share as well that I've published with this Revit model. So I've got some, I won't go into that, but I've got some sheets in here that I can share as well. And if I wanted to, like I said, I could add some documents as well. So if I had spec sheets, PDFs, etc., I could share those with this package as well. So when I hit save, I've not shared the package yet. I've just saved the package ready to be published. So I'll have a little different shape in the swim lane. And once I'm happy, so on the Friday, perhaps the end of the day, we're happy to share this with all of the other teams, I can hit share, give this a name, give this a description, and then share this out to the wider teams. So what's going to happen now is the other teams are going to get a notification to say that there's been a new package shared. There's new information to be able to use. Perhaps on the same Friday, they're all sharing their packages as well. And what they will actually see, so if I just maybe change to one of the other teams we have here, and I wouldn't be able to do this normally. This is based on permissions, so I can just flick between the teams because I'm an admin, but in reality, the architects wouldn't be able to just switch to the electrical team to view whatever they're needing to share or share stuff from their point of view. But to look at things from the electrical team's point of view now, we can see that the architects here have shared a package. We have a little white dot. And what would happen now is maybe we come back on the Monday, we've all shared, all the teams have shared their information. We can choose to click on that dot and then consume the model. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the information that has been shared and put it into our consumed folders, which is in the space inside of Autodesk Docs, which is something that we as the electrical company in this case have access to. And so what this is it's a system to be able to share information. It's a system to be able to see in a timeline when it's been shared. And what there is available to be able to actually use as a reference on the projects. And it's a really, really nice way of visualizing data over time. And as well as that, once the information has been shared, there's various different ways that we can view it in context. So if I flick back to the architects here who have consumed a couple of the different models, I can view the models that have been shared in different ways. So if I get rid of the architects here, I can see that all of the models here are federated, the ones that I've consumed. Each of the teams have colors, so this might be useful if you do have a lot of different services going around and in different models, and you kind of need to color code them just to get an idea of maybe coordination or just kind of an appreciation for the kind of spaces that you have. And you also have the option as well to check what's been shared with sheets. So the architect sheets that we were looking at previously, I can have a quick look at those as well. Like I say, it isn't just for the models. This could be for documents or sheets as well, sharing. And so that's what this space is really about. It's about being able to manage the information that's shared. There's various different ways of being able to see what the changes are as well between the different models that have been shared. So if I click on this package here in the architect's model, what I could do, and I'd be able to do this on other teams as well, would be to check what the changes actually are before I decided to consume them. So what this is allowing me to do here is allow me to have a quick look at the model and see if there's maybe any changes which are going to affect my model. So this might be quite pertinent perhaps for the electrical team. Say they want to check what the architects uploaded, what the changes have been, because a lot of their components are going to be hosted to walls perhaps. And if the walls have been deleted or if the walls have been moved, that might affect some of the components that they have in their model, and they need to know about that before they use that model in the links that they have inside their Revit model. And so that's what this system is really about. It's about being able to have a look at the changes, have a look at the information, and have it in a nice, easy to read format. So that's the Design Collaboration Home module. There's been a few additions in terms of what we can do with this as well. So there's this project status area here which shows models that have been published. This isn't really for the standard user. There's some things that you can get in terms of whether there's been any errors on upload or anything like that as well. But it's just a kind of quick view of what's been published recently. One of the new things as well that we have inside of Design Collaboration module here in Autodesk Collaborate is this changes area. What this allows us to do is to create what are called watch groups. And this is quite interesting. So one of the things that I just showed you there was the ability to be able to see what had changed in a model between two versions. And that is a global change. That's showing me everything that's changed. And in a really large model, that could be a vast amount of changes. And so what this allows you to do, these watch groups here, is to be able to choose a model and then be able to actually create a specific part of that model that you actually want to keep an eye on. So what I can do in this is I can choose maybe a category, or maybe there's even a family within a category that I want to keep an eye on. And I can create what's called a watch group that's just going to focus on the changes that are happening in that category. So if there's something very important on a project that I need to keep an eye on, perhaps that's what we could use these watch groups for. But that's quite a nice new feature inside of here. That's in beta stage at the moment, but it seems to work fine from what I've done in terms of the testing in here. You also have access to the, meetings as well, so this will be quite useful perhaps if you do have that Friday meeting and you want to create some minutes for the meetings that you have every week or something like that. Then you can add invites to this, you can add Zoom meetings that link to these meetings, you can add documents into these as well. It's really just a way of tracking, like I say, the kind of meetings that you have on the project. So that's the design collaboration module. You also have the model coordination module, and this is something that's been added as well. This comes with Autodesk Collaborate and Collaborate Pro. You get it with both. And this is a way of clashing your models automatically in the cloud. So the way that this works, just to give you an idea of kind of what's happening and what I'm about to show you, is that you point the model coordination module at a folder. So in the case of what we're going to be looking at, we're actually pointing towards a folder where the most recent models have been shared. And that's just a folder that's created automatically via some of the workflows that we previously looked at. And so it's going to automatically clash the most recently published models, which is very, very useful if we want to kind of keep an eye on the project and as it progresses. And so the models that I have in this list here are models that have just been pulled from a folder in BIM 360 docs. Now I can quickly show you that folder. I'll show you where this information is coming from. But like I say, you can just point what you want to clash at any folder. You can create as many clash spaces as you want. So these are what are clash spaces. And there's actually one been made for each discipline. And it's just pointing at a folder. And whatever's put into that folder or those subfolders in that folder, whatever model is in there is going to be pulled into model coordination and clashed against each other. So to have a look at the clashes, we've got the models here, and we can review the models if we wanted to from here as well. But if I go to the clashes, this is where we can see the matrix of clashes that we have. So if we just have a look at some of the different views we have here, we've got a couple of models here that have different views that have been exported. So we can actually break our model up based on the views and clash, in this case, the different levels. We could, of course, just clash the entire model against the entire model. It really depends on what kind of a workflow you would want to set up and what views have been published from the Revit models. So I'll choose something. Perhaps we'll do the mechanical versus the electrical with these 4 clashes here. So what it will do is it will, like I say, just automatically clash the 2 models against each other. So we're going to get hard clashes only in these cases. So this is an example of perhaps something that does need to be fixed by a designer. Maybe we want the mechanical services to be the owner of this issue in this case. And what I can do from Autodesk Collaborate is select the clash itself, create the issue, pop the issue on the component, and then fill in the metadata that's going to give the information to the designer about actually fixing that problem. So that'll just open up a standard issue that you would get inside of, say, Autodesk Docs or something along those lines. You can fill in all this metadata. It takes a screenshot as well. You could add more references if you wished. And then once that's done, so I can just close that down, you'll see that it actually disappears from this list. It's not disappeared from the clashes. It's actually in the assigned clashes. But it's disappeared from here because it's actually been sorted, or it's been communicated that that has been an issue. And I would just go through here and I would just issue out each of these to whoever the designers are who needs to fix these. If there was an issue that wasn't an issue, so for instance, perhaps in this case, this might be an issue, but if you imagine maybe a plug socket on a wall, or what I can do is I can open up one to view that kind of experience. I just grab one of these models where I have a lot of clashes. I imagine these are probably going to be mostly interaction clashes. So if I just find out what's in here, what have we got? So the basic wall here is clashing with the other basic wall. We're actually looking at the architect model against the architect's model in this case. So if I just change the clashes that we're looking at here, so we're not looking at the architects against the architects, that's my export issue there. So if I grab one of these, model 65, and I'll go for a floor grill that we have, expand this out, and I'll select it so we can see those two elements. So we've got a floor grill here, and we haven't actually got a clash. This isn't something that somebody might need to sort out. It might be a family issue, I suppose. Actually, there is perhaps meant to be a hole in the floor for that. So we could create an issue, but the other thing we could also do is we could say that this is not an issue. Now, if we say it's not an issue, it doesn't just disappear. We can actually say why we're saying it's not an issue. So we could say that this is actually a valid penetration in this case, and that's then going to get rid of that. So this is going to be down to various people to make sure that as the project progresses, the numbers we see in here are as close to zero as possible, and everything that needs to be communicated to others is. The clash that I created previously will have been put into this assigned area, and this is where that backwards and forwards between the designer and the people who are doing the coordination issues can have their conversations. They can open and close that issue. They can push backwards and forwards the information that will mean that this gets fixed. And the next published, when this is fixed, this will just automatically clash. In the next meeting, perhaps there could be a review of issues, and we would just see that this is then fixed. And so this is just one of the modules that comes now with Autodesk Collaborate and Collaborate Pro. And like I said, it's a way of automatically clashing your models from that are being hosted on the ACC platform. There is also the option to create what are called views. I haven't set any of these up, but if you had a project where there were lots and lots of different models or lots and lots of different views like we could see previously, you can set up views which are just combinations of models that you want to either share with others or keep for yourself for reference. Again, we have meetings in here as well, exactly the same meeting style as previously shown. And we also have reports. Reports will allow you to create reports based on the issues. So perhaps every week you might want an issue detail report going through all of the issues specifically for clashes to create reports on those that you send out, and then everybody has a copy and an audit of. So there's some really useful features inside of here. There is the ability in Collaborate Pro, like I say, to be able to host your models on Autodesk Docs and work share on them. So what I'm going to quickly do is just show you how to get to these models that we have hosted in here. So if I go to my docs and just show you what is actually being hosted, where the models are all coming from. So the clashes that we looked at, the models that we were clashing are coming from this shared folder. And like I say, the process for that shared folder being filled is the process of publishing the packages. I'm not going to go into the details of that process, but every time you share a package, essentially a model will fill this folder. So what I'm going to do is just quickly show you perhaps the work sharing part of the process in here. So I have a model, I have this Revit model here that maybe I've got a team of 5 working on. And it's a fairly easy process to set a work shared model up. It's actually the same process as you would typically set up if it was on your local server. You would just choose your cloud, the cloud server instead. So if I flick across to Revit, you're going to find from Revit 2019, 2020, 2021, and you could do this in 2018.3 as well. You're going to have this window here to view any projects that you have. Now, you have to excuse the BIM 360. This hasn't been changed yet to whatever Autodesk are going to decide in here. But this allows me to access any projects I have in the cloud. And so I'm particularly at the moment in my ACC Collaborate Pro project, and this is where you've got to have a license of Collaborate Pro to be able to do what I'm about to do. So if you imagine perhaps an issue had been assigned to myself and it was the job of the architect to fix whatever that issue actually was, I can come into Revit, I can find my folder and my Revit model. Obviously, one of the things that you can do in Autodesk Docs is assign permissions. So it isn't, on most projects, you're not going to have access to everybody's models. You would just see your folder, your team's folder, which in this case we can imagine being the architects. You might have access to folders in there if you were needing to share things, other folders or other information into other folders in there, but the model that we're working on is in this folder here. And all I need to do is I can click on this model and it's going to open it from the cloud. And because this is a work shared model, if you have access to this model and you have a license of Collaborate Pro assigned to you, I could have a team of 5 people opening the model exactly like I've just done now. They could be opening it with me now anywhere in the world and being able to work on it. What it's actually doing is it's downloading the model from the cloud onto your local drive, much the same way as a standard process for having a central model would work. I can then make any changes I would like to, and I would then synchronize with Central. So let's just say, for example, we want to move this chair. The same process for synchronizing. So I choose synchronize to Central. I can hit OK, and my changes are going to be saved locally and also pushed up to the cloud. Now they're not being pushed into Autodesk Collaborate. They're not being pushed into Autodesk Docs at this point. You're actually just saving to the Central, which is not the model that's being shown in Autodesk Docs. If I wanted to publish this model, so if you imagine the team of 5 people had been working on this all day, I then want to publish that model to Autodesk Docs for people to be able to view or use. What I need to do is I need to actually publish that model through the interface in Revit here. So I can choose publish latest at the end here, and that's then going to put this up on Autodesk Docs. So that is a very quick overview of Autodesk Collaborate and Autodesk Collaborate Pro. They're very new. There's a few things that are going to change, I would imagine, in terms of the interface we see here inside of Revit with the names. But hopefully that's giving you an idea of what you can use it for. There's a lot of workflows inside of it that you can choose to work with. The one using those swim lanes, like I say, is a really nice way of being able to view the information that's being handed over backwards and forwards. And there's some really nice functionality inside of there. So if there's any questions, please do get in touch with us here at Man and Machine. And thanks very much for your time. Thanks.